All right, let's get this meeting started. Here, actually, I'm gonna just show you guys a couple because I wanted to see what happened, but you type in real estate, August 17th, and then you will see, oops, all these videos. And these are all news outlets, and there's a lot of articles as well. And as mentioned, so there's some newcomers in there. Um, all the news outlets are posting it up, and they're actually talking about buyers, being able to lower the commissions, and they're assuming that a lot of buyers are going to be uh, discounting it because it's going to be like a price war. Meaning, they're telling people to interview a few buyers agents and shop around, almost like rates. They're saying, hey, go to talk to realtors, and one good thing that they are mentioning, they're telling everybody you now have to sign a buyer broker agreement before you get in the contract. But what they're telling them is, before, if you do sign it per property with a new agent first. The reason why they're saying that is, if you like the agent, then you could sign a long term with them. That you don't want to get locked in and not like the agent. So I don't know how you guys feel about that. I kind of agree. Most of my personal buyers are referrals and people that know me already. So I don't have a big problem with this. But for like anybody that advertises out, they might have an issue with this, right? So that's one thing that they're talking about on the news. So we're gonna see a lot of talk about this in the next week or so. They're also letting you know they're gonna keep a really eagle eye on the DOJ is gonna keep an eagle eye on realtors right now. So they're gonna make sure we do the right thing. We're not hinting uh, on the commissions on MLS. Some agents are trying to be funny, and I think I told some of you guys already that they're trying to do like the price as $1,025,000, which it kind of giving you a hint that it's 2.5%, right? Or $1,030,000. So don't do that. Some people are trying to do it on a photo. There's a one-click rule. So what is the one-click rule? It's basically, if you post on the MLS, and I'm just gonna just pull up any property, so to show you real quick. Let's just type in San Jose. Okay. So as you can see, on early morning on the 17th, they already took out I'm sorry, the 12th. We did it earlier. On 12th, they took out the commissions. So if you click on any of these, you will not see any commissions. It used to be right here. Under here, they have commissions. They don't have that anymore, right? You cannot put on anywhere public remarks, private remarks that what the commission is. They from my last meeting, they're even saying don't even put sellers are willing to pay compensation. Okay. Um, they said just do it as a hey. One of the realtors kind of had a loophole and said they're gonna put sellers are what did I think they said Fred appreciate buyers and buyers agents. I think that's what they're gonna put instead. Okay. So here's the one click rule. Basically, if you put a link, let's just say it's your disclosures. In that disclosure link, cannot have the commissions on there. What you have to do is click into the disclosures, and in the disclosures, do another link to somewhere else that has the commissions. I know it sounds redundant and it's stupid, but that's what we have to do. So how you would do this without having everybody call you is on here. You put in, please check disclosures on what what we're paying for commissions. And then on the disclosures, you have to do another link to either your website, to another page, to Google Drive, to somewhere else. So that's the rules now. You cannot have it directly linked. It has to be 2 clicks away. Yeah, dumb rule, but that's what they are forcing us to do. Okay. Another thing that we were just discussing at the marketing meeting is you don't have to tell the buyers what the sellers are willing to pay. Some of the agents are saying, hey, our fiduciary duty, even if my sellers, like right now, I do have 2 listings that are willing to pay 5%. However, I do not have to tell the buyers, oh, we are giving 2.5% to you. We actually want them to tell us what their buyer broker agreement is, because they might actually only have a 1.5 or 2% buyer broker agreement with the buyers, and we can actually save our sellers some money. I don't know what the rule is on us taking that commission, because you're going to see something very interesting on the new listing agreement. So technically, we can actually make more money by doing it this way. I'll show you what I mean. So 5% is what my seller's willing to pay. If I find out the broker agreement of theirs is only 2%, technically right now, since my seller agreed for 5, I might can get 3%. Okay. But the problem is what's stated on the listing agreement. So I'll share with you when we go on there. Do you guys have any questions on this? I know there's a lot of confusing rules, and on top of that, we might be changing if there's any conflicts or if there's any problems that arise. You're gonna see a lot of changes in the next coming weeks. Okay. But any questions on that so far? So no more.
Hey Vince.
Yes.
Yeah. So before you hop onto the listing agreement, the changes on the listing agreement, maybe to go over some, what are the process flow? How is it different for you to talk to a buyer now with this implementation? Is there any changes? What are the flow of interacting with your potential buyer?
Okay, I can start with that.
And then we go to the listing side. I think that's important.
Great question.
Let me start off by saying, I like Vince and I, we hear a lot of Reddit write-ups and Google search talk about how a potential buyer's perspective are in terms of their pushback, I would say, right? So most buyers, like say, you might get it from referral, like Vince said, or these are clients that you built over the years and they're just repeated clients. But you also have a lot of agent that's just marketing it, cold calling and buying leads and whatnot. They don't build a relationship with them. So some of the pushback I get from those type of leads are, oh man, I'm getting a agent asking me to sign this buyer representation and broker compensation agreement, and they want me to lock in for life, almost like that. And then the response from other forums say, yeah, don't do that. The agent, you don't have to work with that agent. And then they say, well, the agent doesn't have to, but he chooses to say that it's locked in indefinitely. But you can choose based on a property specific, a time frame specific. So those are some of the concern that some potential buyer have. Said, oh, I don't want to use this agent for the rest of my life. So so you have to know your audience, know your buyer to determine whether or not certain buyers you say, hey, let's based on her property and whatnot, right? But from a buyer agent standpoint, the process flow shouldn't change for you, right? So you always want to, number one, sit down with a client and build a good report. So you either set up a Zoom call, go on a coffee meetup, and do what you call a buyer consultant first. A serious buyer wants to be prepared so that they can achieve success and during that consultation. So because a lot of times you say, oh, you got a buyer who calls you, hey, I want to show a house. And then you show them the house. And a lot of time, they're just kicking tire. They're not really serious. I'm sure you guys run into this kind of situation where potential buyers call you to show the house and end up saying, they're not really serious, right? So building that rapport, building that relationship is the most important. Like Vince, he have great rapport with his potential client, and you have to build rapport, make sure they're pre-approved. Those process and those forms doesn't change, but during that consultation period, you're just adding this buyer representation form into it. That's what I did. At least maybe Vince, you can chime in on how that process. I still think the process flow hasn't changed in terms of your relationship building your potential buyer.
Okay. Well, I actually have, so if you remember, like 3-4 weeks ago, I was doing a whole series on the buyer consultation from what I learned from ABR. So we kind of discussed what we have we have that form that I did, a brand new Google form that has all the important questions to do. But you also have to, again, like what Philip said, build rapport. Tell them about, I always, at least give them a little background about myself and try to get them to know that I'm there to take care of them and how long I've been in business. And so for some of you guys, you have to figure out your USP, your unique selling point that makes someone wants to use you. Because again, if they know 5 realtors, you have to have a reason for them to use you, right? So for me, I have a lot of experience on flipping properties, fixing properties. I have an eye on what to fix, what not to fix, things like that, where I can share my wealth of knowledge, right? So you do have to figure out how to convince a buyer to use you over someone else. It could be price, right? So I teach a lot of the new agents to go, hey, just do a special just for now. You don't have to do it forever, but just let them know that, hey, you're going to take care of some of their closing costs, right? I use the line closing cost assistance, which no real, I still have not heard any realtors use that. They always say down payment assistance, but I kind of coined the closing cost assistance. It's basically just a rebate. Okay, I just make it sound better. So going back to the buyer broker agreement, yes, you have to do that. I've done that with 3 of my new buyers already. None of them gave me any problem with it, especially if with the news saying that you have to do it. So all the articles say when you hire a buyer's agent now, you are required to sign a agreement with them. Okay. And then I'm gonna share with you, not today, because today I just want to go over the purchase agreement and listing agreement because those are 2 most important ones. But next week we're gonna go over the buyer broker agreement, the compensation one, and open house one because that's another important one. So next week we will talk about those forms. There's about 17 new forms, but a lot of them are not important. Some of them are like for renters, and some of them are for like canceling the buyer broker agreement. Those are very self-explanatory. But yeah, any questions besides that?
Yeah, any concern you guys have regarding adding, having this this form signed by your potential client in terms of the process flow or how you transition into it? That's good. I mean, this is a good opportunity to talk over it. If you have submit an offer, would you do it?
The buyer broker agreement, we could table it for next week when I go over the actual form. I don't know if they changed the form ever since I signed it. And here's another thing with if you have a listing signed already, you do not need to re-sign a new listing. I had an agent call me for that. So no, you don't have to re-sign a new agreement. You don't have our old, your previous one on that date is still valid. So because some people say, oh yeah, do I have to change it for the buyer side, things like that? No. Okay. Yeah. Just a quick update. Not a lot of classes, so you don't have to really worry. Only classes about easements. If you don't know about easements, how it can affect your deal, then take this class. That's a free class. Those that have not took the buyer ABR yet, please take it. I mean, it's a wonderful class. You learn a lot. You become a way better agent, and the book that they give you is very, very helpful as well. That's what I based my whole training on a few weeks ago. So please take this. It's free. Normally, you have to pay a few $100 for this, just FYI, because of this lawsuit that they're giving all the agents for free. So you might as well take advantage of it. Okay, so register for that. I think they're going to do 2 more to the end of the year. So if you can't make this one for whatever reason, just take the next one. Okay. Market update real quick before I go to the training. I just want to see. This is kind of the time for me to actually look at the market also. So I always save today just to kind of see. Oops. And you should check with your, let's see here. Now they just set this out. Buyer agreement requirements. If you want to show, you got, okay, basically that's fine. They just give you every reminder. Hey, if you're going to show houses, make sure you have the agreement. Oh, really good. Very strong new listings. We actually jumped up a lot. If you guys don't remember, last week was about only 300, 200 something, almost 300, not even 300. Today, or this week is almost 400. So 100 new listings. Again, the more listings we have, the better it is for our economy and our realtors. We have more listings, of course, for more agents to make money, but also more choices for buyers, which makes it easier for us to get into contract. So I'm liking to see that the market is still pretty strong, even with all the changes. What I assume why there's a big jump, okay, this is my assumption, is all the sellers were waiting for the new law. But they didn't know that, hey, before that, they already could do the same thing. But they just think, oh, after the 17th, I don't have to pay the buyers. So I think everybody was waiting for now to list it. That's just what my assumption is, why there's such big jump in listings. But again, it's pretty good. So hey, if you send out marketing, let people know, try to do marketing for listings. Listings always good. And right now, more than any, I think you're gonna get more dual agents. I definitely am thinking there's gonna be a lot more dual agents. A lot of people are not gonna want to pay the buyer and go directly to a listing agent. And we're gonna talk about that because on the listing agreement, there's a section for that now too. They're prepared. Even the contract people are prepared for it. Okay. Other than that, let's just go to training because I think I do want to have enough time to answer questions. So I'm doing trainings on all these right now, but let's go with the listing agreement first because this is to me the most important. I think all of us should focus on listings, and I think this is one of the biggest changes. If you haven't seen it, I think everybody here done listing before, right? Seen a listing agreement, at least a listing contract before, but now they're imitated kind of like the RPA. They put all the important parts in one section, not like before. So this part you guys know, agency relationship. I'm not going to talk about this. We're going to start right at the contract. All right. So date, you can just put today's date, right? You double click on it, it will actually show today's date. Or if it was empty, you just double click and it'll show today's date. You put the seller's information on there. Seller 1, seller 2. If there's a second seller, listing broker, address, very simple stuff. These are all basic. Now, listing period. They put it up front now. And again, you see that there's like a big box now. Before they didn't have this, right? Listing period, usually I would say 3 to 6 months. That's very normal. Some of my sellers that really want to sell quick, they just say, hey, I'll give you 3 months. That's fine. We typically want 6 months. That just gives us a little bit more time. And also sometimes like one of my clients right now, it's been 2 months since I signed an agreement. They're still fixing up the property. If I had a 3-month listing agreement, I would have to do a new one already. Okay. Luckily that one I have 6 months. Price, same thing. You just put in the price, whatever you and your sellers decide. You put that there. They put this right here now, manufactured home or probate sale. So if you click on this, if it is you're selling mobile home, there is a mobile home addendum. This is the one where it talks about the decal number, the license number, all the information, year built. So there's addendum that you have to have with mobile homes. Okay. If it is a probate sale, hopefully you guys know what a probate sale is if someone passes away, they own a home, but it has to go to probate court. There's another addendum that we have to include, and you check that if it is a probate sale. Okay. Here's a big difference. They even say here, compensation notice. The amount or rate is negotiable. It's not fixed. Because a lot of agents back then, this is why we got in lawsuits, were saying, my fees are non-negotiable. These fees are non-negotiable. I charge 6. So you can never say that. Even though you don't want to negotiate, you cannot say it's non-negotiable. Okay. You can say my fees are 6, but you can't say it's non-negotiable. Okay. So don't get caught saying that. Now, first part, compensation to seller's broker. This is to your side only. Before we actually put in 5%, 6% because we have to do both sides. Now you only care about your side. Okay. So for me, hopefully I'm trying to get 3%. I'm still going to start 3% for all my listings. Okay. You can do flat fee. Flat fee. So I'm doing a flat fee right now. And the only reason why is one of my good friends I knew since high school selling their house, and they found a buyer. It's the tenant buying it. So I didn't want to do like a commission. So I just did a flat fee. Okay. $10 flat fee, wherever you feel like you deserve for that deal. If you have a compensation schedule, this is typically if, some agents do this where I've used this before. I say, hey, I will sell your property within 1 month. And if I can't sell it in 1 month, and if I have to drop the price, I will lower my commissions to 1%. I've done that when the market was really, really hot during COVID. But I would not do that now because the market softened. But if you have a different schedule, like, hey, if I can't sell it with this much, I will lower this much. If I can't sell it for 3 months, I will lower my commission to this much. If you want to do that, I wouldn't do the other way around because most people think, oh, if you work harder, work longer, you deserve more. No, the seller's going to most likely think you're not doing your job and you can't sell this property and want to find another agent. Okay. So if you want to raise the price, they're probably going to cancel the listing on you. All right. So that's that. Next section. It's additional compensation to the buyer's broker if they're not represented. And this does not mean it's a dual agent. So I assume, and right now with that deal that I'm helping with my friend and that the tenant, I am not representing that tenant. I actually have addendum saying I only represent my seller and I'm not representing a buyer. So for any legal purposes, in case anything happens, I'm not liable for the buyer's mistakes. Okay. But I know that because I'm doing that, I'm doing a lot of extra work. So you can upfront tell your sellers, hey, just let you know with the new rules, some people are gonna try to be not represented. They don't want to pay a buyer side commission. They might want to just go through me and want me to kind of give them information. So I might have to do more work, and if I have to do something like this, I will charge additional 1%. So that's something I would actually do with my clients. I say, hey, if I have to do both sides, even if I'm not representing them, I have to charge 4% because I'm gonna have to do a lot of extra work. Okay, and there's slightly a little bit more liability as well. Okay, so you can say that to them. Any question on this part? No? Pretty self-explanatory? Okay, cool. Now, if you do dual agent, that's up to you also. You can just say, hey, buyer, you're going to have to pay me X amount. Or I can put it into the contract agreement, which I'll show you on the RPA. There's a section for that now, okay, where you ask the sellers to pay for the buyer side commission. And there's an additional form for that too. So now, just let you know, our deals are going to be a lot more complicated. There's going to be a lot of extra forms. I would say 3 to 4 extra forms that we have to put on every deal, on top of all the disclosures and everything we need already. Okay. Next part, continue right to compensation of broker identified prospective buyer. So once your listing agreement ends, let's say you have 6 months, but let's say you found a buyer another week after that or 2 weeks after that. We used to have a safety clause. So now they put up front what our safety clause is. I would put 30 days. It's up to you how long you will put it. But after the listing ends, if any buyer comes in after the 30 days because of my marketing, because I did open house, and let's just say, a buyer comes out from out of nowhere a week after the listing ends, you are still owed a compensation based on this up to 30 days. Okay, so up to you guys how many you want to put it. The longer the better, of course, but I think it's fair. Hey, after 30 days, if you get a contract, I am still owed a commission. Okay. Seller's obligation to pay previous brokers. I don't see this happening much at all. But if someone did sign a listing agreement with the listing agent and it had a clause in there that they have to pay, especially for like marketing costs, if they have to get paid through the deal, the seller's not paying them until it closed, you would put in this section that, hey, the previous listing agent couldn't sell, but they are owed money. You are now the new listing agent. You sell it. You do have to take some of the profits to give to the previous listing agent. But most cases, they'll fire the listing agent without having to pay. That's kind of the most common. Okay, but they have to add this section in here. All right. So here it looks a little bit different on items included. So items included, they used to have like the washer dryer, the fridge separately, right? Now you have to put it here. So what's included, you have to type it in. Okay. Same for excluded. Hey, if there's items that they want to take with them, they say, I'm taking that washer dryer. It's brand new. We're not giving it with it. You put it on here. Leased items, same thing. So if there's any lease or lien items, just put it on there, especially solar. Solar's very common to be leased. If there's a solar lease and lien, the new buyers have to take over. And it is a little pain in the butt, but it's something you have to do to sell it. Okay. Now, another new area is the smart home features, because I guess there's a lot of smart home things now. Typically, what's included is like Ring. People usually don't uninstall the Ring, but like security cameras, they take with them. Alexa Home and what is it? Google Home and Amazon Alexa. Those can be taken with you, right? So just put what's included and what's not included. Okay, so that's something new that you have to put in there. They actually set a specific part for MLS now. Where are you going to market it? So the good thing about MLS listings, they already aggregated to all the other ones, local ones. But if you are part of something that's further out, you can actually post in other places as other MLSs as well. But you just need to put on the primary. That's only. Next, timing of presenting offers. They put that right up front now. It used to be like in page 5 or 4 or 5. Now they say if any offers come in right away, you have to give it to sellers. No matter how high or how low, once you get the offer and once you receive it, you forward it directly to the sellers. Or it gives the sellers a, if they don't want to get bombarded with, offers left and right, you can say, hey, I can set a date. I will only present offers at a certain date. So let's say, a week from now, I will give you all offers all at once. Okay. And then of course you set that on the MLS as well, if you have an offer due date. Buyer supplement offer letters. Okay, so we call these love letters. A lot of NAR is against doing these because it can be used for discrimination. I have seen many of these letters. I always advise my buyers, if they're writing these letters, please do not put anything that related to your race, religion, things like that. So this can be open to a lot of discriminatory and code of ethics violations. That's the reason why. If they see sellers saying, oh man, these are immigrants, and they talk about them immigrating from whatever country, I don't especially if they fought in like one of the wars there and they hated it or something like that, they can say, I'm not gonna sell to this person, right? So what we always recommend is when you're writing these buyer love letters, just talk specifically on the house, why they love the house, and hopefully the sellers want to sell to you because they're gonna take care of they assume the new buyer that's gonna live in it, that loves the house, is gonna take care of it instead of like an investor. Okay, so now if they do want to see it or don't want to see it, you have to check this box if they are okay with it. It's gonna be default, no, do not turn in love letters. And I've seen listings that says please do not submit these. Okay, my sellers does not want to see these for liability issues. So for your buyer's sake, I'm sorry, your listing agent's sake, if you don't look at it, it is better because again, if someone sends a love letter and they didn't get the house, they're gonna ask why, and if you give a wrong answer, that's a potential lawsuit. Okay. Now, investigation reports. If they're gonna do it, you could check on these, but I suggest not. You don't have to put on contract that they're gonna do it. The reason why is if later on they do require you to show the listing agreement, and lenders, if they see it in the future, they will request to see it, and it can screw up the deal. So we always talk about this in the buyer's purchase agreement. Never ever check the box that you're going to do structural inspections or pest inspections or property inspections, because once you do that, lenders are forced to see it. I actually have lenders saying, why do you check that box? I did that once a long time ago, early in my real estate career, and that did screw up the deal. The lenders saw the section 1 and they says, you have to get this fixed before we close. The seller was not willing to do it. The seller says, buyer, if you want to buy this house, you have to do section 1. But the problem is you have to do section 1 before funds. So you don't own it yet and you have to do section 1. The buyer's like, well, what happens if I fix all this, which is like $12,000, and it doesn't close, or the lending doesn't fund? Well, guess what? You're out of that money. So the buyer said, no, I'm not doing it. And then the lender of course says, well, if you're not going to do it, the deal's canceled, and we lost the deal because of that. So don't do that. Okay. I think you had a deal that the agent did that and sent one of the reports to the lenders and screwed up the deal. I remember that as well. So again, exceptions for ownership and title. I don't see this very often. But if there's any exceptions, I don't know. Like right now, one of my deals, one of the owners is out of country. He lives in Hong Kong. And then we might have to put that on here that they do have to have a power attorney for the seller to sign. You could put something like that on there. Next, seller intends to include a contingency to purchase a replacement property. So this is to protect your sellers. If your sellers are planning to sell but needs to buy a house, they don't want to be homeless. So if they can't find a replacement property, they don't need to close on their house. Of course, most buyers are not going to like this. It makes it tougher to sell, but it's something that some sellers want, especially if they're doing like a 1031 exchange on this property. They might want to do this. They don't have to sell and inquire a large tax unless they find a replacement property. So this is something new that they added. And then there's a new form as well that you have to fill out. Okay. Seller opt-outs. So you can opt out to not put a key safe or a lockbox, especially if they're living there and they're worried that people are going to just show up out of nowhere. Even though you say, hey, appointment only. If you put lockbox, people will not read and come and look at the property. Some people feel uncomfortable if they're in the shower or whatnot, especially if they're a single person. So they can opt out of lockbox or signs. Some people might not want people to, their neighbors to see that they're selling, right? So they don't want you to put sign up. They just check that box right there. All right. Other than that, these are all pretty standard advisories. Unless it's a short sale, unless it's an REO or a trust sale, then you would check those boxes. I mean, if you do have any of those, just check with me and I'll teach you that later on. Not very common, especially short sales and REOs right now, we're not doing much of. There is a new section for addendums now. So if you do attach addendum, you do have to check this box and tell them that there's an addendum with it. So that's a little bit new. Other than that, everything else is the same. These are all just boilerplate, nothing to change. So a lot of new changes on the listing agreement. So it looks totally different. Any questions on anything I went over? Again, I have this recorded. I posted on the Facebook group. So if you ever need to look back at it,
I think I like this listing a lot better. Simplify, more, a lot cleaner than the.
Correct. That's why they did it for the RPA, and I'm surprised they finally did it for listing, because before, everything that you need to know is all spread out. So you really have to know the contract. Now you just look at the first 2 pages. That's really it. First 2 pages. And you don't have to look through the all 7 pages like before. Okay. Perfect. Okay, I still have 15 minutes, so I'm gonna talk about the purchase agreement. I'm gonna go do that pretty fast because that one doesn't have too much new things to it. Oh, I closed it up. So only thing about the car, every time you close out of a contract, you gotta sign back in. I don't know why they do this. They make it very, very difficult. Whoever's engineers that created the car forms, they didn't get fired. So even getting the contracts, like I told you guys, you have to go in here, you have to go and access zip forms, especially if you don't do this very often, you not remember where to go to. You have to go to here to access it, and then you have to go down here. So I actually did this on purpose. I'm sorry?
Way too many steps just to get to the form.
Correct. So here's a secret tip. On this page, oops, on that page earlier, I have it right here. Once you click on this, it goes directly to here. So there's a shortcut. So what you do is you bookmark it. You go to this page and you bookmark it, and then that will save you a lot of time going all through all the hoops. So I just click on this thing. So I wanted to show you guys that. Okay. All right. Your streaming. These are all the forms that I did videos on. We'll go on the videos on the other ones next week. Get purchase agreement. They just added a few items, so I'm not gonna go through everything. All right, so address, these are all the same. These are all the same. One part to add it right here is if there's more than one brokerage. So not very often, but sometimes you would partner up with someone from another broker. Whether it's because, you know, I'm trying to think, like especially like LA. Like if I had a listing in LA, I personally wouldn't go down there unless it's a $2.8 million listing like Philip. If it was like a normal listing like $700,000, $800,000, I'm not gonna fly down there just for it. I'll find an agent down there. We don't have a branch down there, so we'll just find another brokerage and we have to sign this agreement here, right? Or if
I know, but we don't have a branch office, but we do have an agent. We do have agent down there, so
okay,
we can do that.
Well, let's use some up in Ukiah then. So down, we don't have any agents, I believe, in Ukiah up north. So just anywhere that we don't have agent with that's in ERS, of course, we will have to partner with another agent. This is where you check the box. Okay. That they just added that there. Purchase price, escrow, expiration, these are all the same. Initial deposit is the same. The loan part all the same. This is also the same. There's nothing new on this part. Okay. Seller credit. I think this is what they added. Now, if you are getting a seller to credit, and this is where I would ask them to credit for buyers if they tell me they're not you know, if they don't want to pay a broker compensation and I want to negotiate a credit so my buyers can pay my commission, you can do it from here. Okay. So there's 2 parts. this part right here, where seller agrees to pay obligation to buyer, this is the seller directly paying you commission. So if they are like right now, if my listings, we are paying buyer commission, I will tell the buyer's agent, please check this box, fill out this the buyer's broker under a separate agreement, SPBB, and tell me what your fees are. Okay. But if I'm putting an offer in and they're saying, nope, we are not paying the buyer side commission. What I'm going to do to kind of circumvent this is I'm going to ask whatever the offer is, and then I'm going to ask for credit. I'm going to ask for credit for, whatever the amount is. So, if the commission is 15,000, I'm going to ask for 15,000 credit. I'm going to tell the buyers, hey, don't worry, I'm going to ask for this credit here, and I'm going to use this credit to pay for my commission, so you don't have to pay. So in the seller's eyes, it's, oh, I'm not asking for them to pay my commission. I'm just asking for a credit for my buyers. Okay. And again, it's negotiations if they allow it or that they don't. Okay. Hopefully, if your offer is the strongest with the credits, then great. If they say, hey, no, we're not giving you 59 credits, we're only giving you 7,500 credits, then I have to go back to the buyer and say, hey, they're only paying 75. So are you okay with paying $7,500? If not, then we don't do this deal. And if they are okay with it, or I could say, hey, look, if you really don't want to pay it, we're going to counter back and lower the price, 7,500, right? So there's multiple ways of doing this. It's negotiations. You're just going to go back and forth until you can find a win-win situation where the seller, buyer, and you are in line. Okay, it is a little bit more complicated, but that's kind of something you have to do.
Vince, I just want to clarify. This is where you actually do the part of negotiation by the seller credit, so that way the buyer is actually paying the commission.
Technically, it's the next one, G3. This is where you negotiate. This is where I would try this first. I'll always try this first and say, hey, are you willing to pay? But if they specifically say on MLS, we will not pay buyer side, or the agents specifically tell me, no, sellers will not pay a buyer broker agreement, then I would try at least finesse it into a credit or into the price. You don't even have to click this box. I could just tell my client easily, hey, look, I know you're both to put $1 million offer, but let's just put 975,000, and my credit, my commission is 2.5%. So would you do it that way? So at the end of the day, the seller is still paying for it.
Hey Vince, I have a question.
Sure.
Based on I put in a couple offer last couple of weeks, and
Yep.
then based on all the listing that they put that form on the red note, that's mean
Okay.
they're willing to pay commission. So based on I know.
Technically, yes. And
Yeah,
it's always good
technically.
to call them. Call them and ask.
Yeah.
Some agents right now, I told you on our marketing training, they are
Uh-huh.
training our listing agents to not tell the exact amount. They're just saying,
Oh,
hey,
okay.
put it
Just
into the
send over.
contract. Yeah, send
Yeah.
over how much your buyer broker agreement is. And
Uh-huh.
technically, whatever your buyer broker agreement is, you're not supposed to make more than that anyways. But I have a way
Yeah.
around it.
Okay.
So let's just say you guys on here, on your buyer broker agreement is your good friend, and you say, hey, I'm only going to make a 1.5% from you. If the sellers don't pay, this is what you need to pay me. Okay. However, if I find out that the sellers are paying 2.5%, I might go back to my buyer and be like, hey, can I sign a new buyer broker agreement with you? Because the sellers are willing to pay a full commission. That's what I would do. Okay.
Got it.
It's up to
Got
you.
it.
What you guys want to do. If you want to just let it go or whatnot, I think that's a waste, right? If the sellers are willing to pay it, you might as well get it.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Okay. Got it.
All right. Good question though. Okay, additional financing terms, that's normal. We talked about that. Verification and cash, all these are just normal stuff. I wouldn't change any of these. You're supposed to have all these pre-approved anyways. Loan appraisals. Okay, not something very new here is insurance. So all these are old except for insurance. Insurance is one of the big things right now. We used to do insurance at the very end. Before we close, we say, hey, go make sure you buy insurance. Lender's going to require it. Now, once you get in contract, I already told my clients, go shop for insurance because you might not get it, or it might be super expensive and it will affect your payments. So now you can back out because of it. They're saying if you can't get insurance on your property, you get to back out and get your EMD back. So that's kind of cool that they added that, because that's a big problem right now. Okay. Everything else is the same, like seller documents and the preliminary title report. That should be part of the investigation. Your investigation, inspection, contingencies anyways. So all these are very, very common, okay? L9, they changed the spot, but here, if their buyers has to sell the property to buy your property, then you check this box right here, okay? So some people, they need the funds to be able to sell the house, get the money for down payment for the new house. However, there's a lot of new loan programs that even HomeLight, just let you guys know, HomeLight, the place where we do our disclosures, they are having a special where they will help you buy the new property while you sell the other one. And then once you sell the other one, it's a bridge loan to the new one. So just let you know, if you do get into the situation that you need that, they do offer that. Everything else I think is the same. So time of possession, seller occupied. If, of course, if they're still going to stay there, you do have to fill out 2 forms. If it's less than 30 days, it's SIP. If it's more than 30 days, you do RLAS. So SIP is seller in possession. RLAS is actually a residential listing. It's actually a lease agreement that you have to do, okay? If it's more than 30 days. And if it's occupied by tenants, just see if they are going to stay there or not, and you have a tenant occupied addendum. If you're going to inherit the tenants, yes or no. Okay. Other than that, these are just who pays for what. You guys know. Hey, typically we're going to ask sellers to pay. This part is just all the new. They just added a few new things like security, video doorbell. These are just added new. Okay. National disclosures, again, ask the sellers to pay. Only thing that I would ask for is a report additional would be pseudo-lateral. Hopefully you guys know what that is, but certain cities. So San Bruno, I sold a property there that required it. Berkeley, Oakland, certain parts of San Mateo, I think, Peninsula, even Gilroy and Hollister has it now. It's spreading. Every city is basically adopting this. They don't want to be liable for the pipe from your house to the city, and they're making you as an owner or the sellers liable, and you have to do a pseudo-lateral inspection. If it passes, great. If it doesn't pass, you know, seller has to fix it before they can transfer. Okay, so that's what pseudo-lateral is. I would highly recommend those reports in the cities that require it. And if you don't know, just Google it. Cities that require pseudo-lateral, they have a list. Smoke detector, of course, sellers usually responsible for that. Escrow, title, transfer tax. Please look at the who pays for what. Every county is different. These are still negotiable, but I just use what's customary. HOAs usually sellers pay, and I always get sellers to pay the home warranty. But other than that, everything is the same. Okay, so they just add a few things for the buyer's side. The listing agreement is the biggest change. But again, you know, if you have any problems, just give me a call. I can answer it for you guys. But please check the videos first. Watch the video, and if you see the video and you still don't know what, or you have a obscure question, then give me a call. All right. Any questions on the buyer purchase agreement? All right, good. Pretty self-explanatory, right? Nothing too complicated, except for the listing agreement, which I think is improvement. It makes it a lot easier. Back then, the listing agreement, you do have to fill out the whole contract. Everything's all spread out, and I'm glad that they put all in one section now for the listing agreement. All right, next week we will discuss about all 3 forms. Okay, it's the SPBB, the SBSC, Buyer's Broker Compensation Agreement, and there's one more that's important. Can't think of. The open house one. So we're gonna talk about that next week. All right. Other than that, I have to go drop off my car. I'll see you guys next week.
All right,
Bye,
see you next week.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, friends.